Hello guys, MJ here with MBJ Knowledge. Today's lesson we're going to look at trigonometry, but how to use the cosine rule. Alright, so how do you pick? Actually, here pupils have or learners have a challenge to pick whether to use sine rule or cosine rule. Today I'm going to break that challenge. Alright, so now when do you use cosine rule? Let's say, for instance, a question comes in the examination room. How do you choose to say, let me use cosine rule on this question, or let me use a sine rule? Now, there are two things that you need to know. Okay, if you want to pick cosine rule, the first thing, let's say the question comes and they ask you to find an unknown length, meaning you're finding a side. All right, so how do you know that you are going to use cosine rule? First, you have to find out or check your diagram. If you are given two sides, okay, and one angle, then you are going to use cosine rule. It means sine rule cannot work there. Okay, so if you are given two sides and one angle, just know that you are going to use cosine rule to find the unknown length. Let's take, for instance, this diagram right here. You've been given two sides, this side and this side. Okay, so the KP and the KB, they have been given. So we have 5 kilometers and 3 kilometers. At the same time, we've been given an angle. Check the question. Calculate BP. B to P. This here is a length, all right? Because you're finding a side. So for you to calculate this length, it means you're supposed to use cosine rule. It means sine rule cannot work. Are you getting something, guys, there? All right, let's talk about the formula now. Look at this. Since what you're finding out here, this is a small letter k, and then this is a small letter b, so an opposite side to an angle becomes an opposite thing to an angle becomes a small letter, which is a side. Then this side, which is opposite to capital letter P, which is the angle, is a small letter p. So for me to come up with a formula that will calculate PB, what am I going to do? The K becomes the subject of the formula. So K squared, as it is. Then these two sides that are adjacent to your angle, these are the sides here. P squared plus B squared minus 2PB. So again, you're multiplying the two sides, all right, times cos K. Look at this. The side I'm trying to find will be the angle I'm going to use on the other side. Okay, so you're supposed to be given an angle opposite to the side you're trying to find. Then cosine rule is going to work. All right, let us proceed to the second point that will help us either to pick cosine rule or not. Let's say you want to find an unknown angle. All right, when you want to find an unknown angle, you are supposed to be given all the three sides. All right, so if you look at your diagram and you see that all the three sides have been given and they're asking you to calculate one angle there, just know that you cannot use sine rule. There, on that question, make sure you use cosine rule. All right, let's take, for instance, this question right here. Okay, they're saying calculate angle BAC. You're considering this triangle ABC. All right, look at the sides of this triangle ABC. All the sides are given. We have 70 meters, we have 90 meters, and we have 100 meters. So here, for us to calculate this angle here, it means we are supposed to use cosine rule because all the three sides are given. I hope these 2 points will help you to choose whether to use sine rule or cosine rule. All right, now let's try it on a practical question. All right, so here the formula will come up as the angle we are trying to calculate. In this case, we are finding angle A. So cos A, all right, then these are sides, the adjacent sides, that is small letter b, and the small letter c, These are the angles, the sides you are seeing here, b squared plus c squared. Then the side which is opposite to the angle I'm trying to find will come after the minus, all right, divided by the multiplication of 2bc. All right, let's try it on a practical question. How can we find this question? An examination question now, all right? So now here, the diagram below shows a triangle KMN in which KM is equal to 8 kilometers, MN is equal to 10 kilometers, and angle KMN is equal to 92 degrees. The first question is saying calculate Kn. All right, Kn is representing a side. So in this case, we are trying to calculate the length for this triangle. What did we learn in the beginning of this lesson? We said if on your question you've been given two sides and an angle, then they ask you to find the length, you are supposed to use cosine rule. So definitely here I'm supposed to use cosine rule. All right, so now let us first of all name the sides. So the side opposite to m, which is this one, is small letter m. The side opposite to k, which is this one, small letter k. The side opposite to n is the small letter n. So the small letters are representing sides, capital letters representing angles. All right, so let's come up with a formula now which will help us to calculate Kn. So we'll say m squared, all right, equal to the adjacent sides to the angle k squared plus n squared minus the multiplication of 2 times Kn cos m, the angle opposite to the side I'm trying to calculate. This is the formula here. Let us substitute our values. So m squared, the value for k is 10, all right, so 10 squared. Then the value for n is 8 kilometers. So here 8 squared minus 2 times 10 times 8 times cos m. M is a 92 degrees right there. Okay, so let us expand. What is 10 squared? All right, this 10 squared means 10 times 10, which is 100. Then 8 times 8, 64. All right, then let us multiply 2 times 10 times 8, okay, which will give us 160 times, when we punch on the calculator what is cos 92 degrees, it will give us a value of negative 0.034899. The values are going, so I've just rounded off to at least 6 decimal places. Don't round off your value to less than 4 decimal places, all right? At least 4 decimal places going up, then you are safe. All right, so from here, I'm going to add the 100 and the 64. Then I'm going to multiply the negative 160 and the negative 0.034899. Please don't start by subtracting 64 and 160. That is a very big mistake. Okay, so deal with what is on the left on its own and deal with what is on the right on its own. So when you add the 100 and the 64, you have 164. Then when you multiply negative 160 times negative of 0.034899, you're going to have positive 5.58384. Okay, from here now, that's when I can add. Okay, so when I add these two, I'm going to get 169.58384. After this, now take the square root of your value. Okay, so the square root, because we want the value for m, so I need this power 2 to go. All right, so introduce the square root, so at this square root and the power 2 will cancel. Then introduce the square root also on the other side. You're going to have m as this value, rounding it off to 3 significant figures. That is 1, 2, 3. You're going to strike a line between 0 and the 2. Checking our number, which is after 0, it is less than 5. So I'm not going to do anything to this. So the final answer will be 13.0 kilometers. That is the value for Kn. All right, let us try finding the area now of this. Now, when you're finding area, it doesn't matter whether you're using sine rule or you're using cosine rule. Okay, when you're finding area of a non-right-angled triangle, what you need is the angle, all right, and the two adjacent sides to the angle that you are given. Okay, so in this case, I'm having 92 degrees as the only angle in this case. So I'll check, does it have the adjacent sides? Yes, the adjacent sides are K and N, okay, and these sides are given. All right, so meaning our formula will be area of a non-right angled triangle, which is this, will be 1 over 2 times Kn, all right, times the sine of the angle which is given, so sine M, okay? So it doesn't matter whether you're using cosine or sine, make sure here when you're calculating area, use the sine ratio, okay? Substituting our values, 1 over 2, Kn, it is 10 times 8, all right, times sine 92 degrees. Multiply 1 times 10 times 8 times sine 92 at once. You're going to have 79.95126616. All right, don't forget that we haven't used the 2. So now divide it by a 2 to get the area. So when we divide by a 2, we have this answer here. All right, let us round it off now to 3 significant figures. So rounding off this value will end here, okay? The next number after the 9 is greater than 4, so I'm going to add the 1 to 9. When you add the 1 to 9, it becomes 10. So you are going to carry a 1, write a 0, and carry the 1 to the next number. Again, this becomes a 10, write a 0 and carry the 1 to the next number. The 3 becomes a 4. So the final answer will be 40 kilometer squared. Don't forget this is area, so square units, all right? Let us now find the third question, that is shortest distance. How do you find the shortest distance? All right, in a simpler way, I'm going to give you an already simplified formula to calculate shortest distance. So shortest distance will be given by 2 times A over B. All right, shortest distance from M to Kn. All right, this is the distance we are trying to calculate. So you just multiply the area you have calculated by 2, then divide it by the longest side. This B you are seeing here on the formula represents the longest side. Okay? So 2 times 40, because 40 is the area we found after calculating. Then B, we are checking which one is the longest side in this case. The 13 is the longest side. So divided by 13. All right? So 2 times 40, you have 80. All right? Divided by 13, you're going to have 6.153846154. In case you do not know how to round off, leave it like this. But let us round off to 3 significant figures. That is up to here. Checking the next number, it is less than 5. So we are not going to do anything to this. So the final answer for shortest distance will be 6.15 kilometers. All right? Let us go for the last question. They are saying solve the equation 2 tan theta equals to -3 for 0 degrees less than or equal to theta less than or equal to 180 degrees. So in this case, we are just dealing with 2 quadrants. That is the first quadrant and the second quadrant, because 180 ends here in the second quadrant. This is the first, this is the second. So in here, we are going up to 180. All right. So they're asking us to find the value where tan is a negative. Look at this value. It is a negative. So they want us to find the value for tan where it is negative. In this case, in the first quadrant, all these ratios are positive, meaning tan is only negative in the second quadrant. So the first step we're going to take is now to find the reference angle. All right, now check the way we're going to find the reference angle. So divide by 2 on both sides, okay? This 2 and this 2 will go, all right? So we're going to have tan theta equals to negative 3 over 2. Then take the inverse, all right? Take the inverse of tan for us to find an angle. Now, notice here, there's a negative. Here, when you're finding a reference angle, remove the negative, okay? So I'm going to remove that negative, and then I'm going to write tan inverse of 3 over 2. Why am I taking the inverse of tan? It's because I want to find an angle. We cannot find an angle with a normal ratio. What find angles is an inverse of that ratio, okay? So inverse of 3 over 2, when you divide 2 into 3, you're going to have 1.5. So when you take the tan inverse on your calculator, press shift, then go on the tan, and then it is going to show the tan inverse, then punch 1.5. You are going to get 56.3 degrees, all right, to 3 significant figures, of course. Now we have a reference angle. We can now find the value that they're asking us. Remember I said this 56 is in the first quadrant, but tan here is positive. What we want is a value which is in the second quadrant, okay? Because tan is negative in the second quadrant. Hence, we're going to say 180 minus the reference angle. This alpha here is representing our reference angle. So say 180 minus 56.3. Okay, when we subtract here, what do we get? Good, we have 123.7 degrees. That is now the answer for this equation that we were solving. All right, so thank you very much, guys, for watching up to the end. And don't forget to like and share and comment if you enjoy this content. See you in the next video.